Last night, your special person opened up to their friend. They confessed to them and said, "I am my beloved child." Last night, while the world around them slept, your special person finally stopped pretending that everything was fine. They sat across from someone they trusted, holding back words they had buried for far too long. At first, they tried to laugh it off. They changed the subject. They stared at the floor. But silence became heavier than fear. Then they whispered, "I am." And the room suddenly felt different. Their friend looked at them without interrupting because they knew this confession had been waiting for months. What followed was not anger. It was not blame. It was a truth they could no longer hide. Why did they wait until last night? Why not tell you instead? Those answers are closer than you think, so don't skip. Every second reveals another piece of the puzzle, and something huge is waiting for you. Their friend listened carefully as the confession unfolded, one broken sentence at a time. They admitted they had been carrying a secret every single day they stayed silent. Every message they never sent, every conversation they avoided, every smile they forced in front of others had been protecting one impossible truth. "I kept telling myself tomorrow," they confessed, but tomorrow never came. Their friend leaned forward and asked the question they had been afraid to hear. "If your feelings are real, then what has been stopping you?" The answer did not come immediately. Instead, there was another long silence, followed by trembling hands and eyes filled with regret. It wasn't pride. It wasn't a lack of love. It was something much deeper, something they believed would change everything if it ever came into the light. Stay till the end, because the next part of their confession explains why they have been trapped between reaching for you and running away. Then came the moment their friend never expected. They quietly replied, "You can keep hiding, but silence is making the decision for you." Those words struck harder than any accusation ever could. Your special person realized that every day they waited, another opportunity disappeared forever. They admitted they replay your memories in their mind more often than anyone could imagine, wondering whether the distance between you had become too wide to cross. Yet even then, they hesitated before finishing the sentence they started hours earlier. "I am," they repeated once more, but this time their voice refused to move. Their friend already understood what was coming before the final words were spoken, and their expression changed completely. Whatever they heard next convinced them that the future between you had not ended, it had only reached the most unpredictable turning point yet. The silence that followed felt heavier than the confession itself. Your special person looked at their friend as though they were standing on the edge of a decision that could never be undone. After several deep breaths, they finally completed the sentence they had started. "I am terrified that I waited too long." Those words echoed through the room with surprising honesty. Their friend did not respond right away because they knew fear was only the surface. There was another truth hiding beneath it. "Terrified of what?" they finally asked. Your special person closed their eyes and admitted they had imagined hundreds of different futures, yet every single one ended with the same question: what if they no longer believe me? That question had followed them everywhere, quietly stealing their confidence one day at a time. Their friend gently shook their head. "You're making a decision based on a story you've created in your own mind," they said. "You don't actually know how this ends." Those words landed harder than expected. For the first time, your special person realized they had been fighting an invisible battle against possibilities instead of reality. They confessed they had noticed little signs they couldn't explain, moments that reminded them of you at unexpected times, familiar songs appearing out of nowhere, conversations that somehow circled back to your name without anyone planning it. They tried convincing themselves those moments meant nothing, yet they never truly believed that. Deep inside, they felt as though life itself kept placing quiet reminders in front of them, almost daring them to stop running. Don't skip, because what happened next forced them to question everything they thought they understood. Their friend then asked one final question that changed the entire conversation. If they suddenly stood in front of you right now and gave you one chance to speak without interruption, what would you say? The room became completely still. Your special person didn't answer immediately because they knew this wasn't an imaginary exercise anymore. Their eyes filled with emotion as words formed that they had never spoken aloud before. They leaned forward, lowered their voice, and began revealing what had truly been locked inside their heart all this time. But before they could finish, something unexpected interrupted the conversation, leaving both of them staring at each other in complete disbelief, and what happened in that moment made them realize this story was far from over. Just as the words were about to leave their lips, a sharp vibration broke the silence. Both of them looked toward the table where a phone had begun to light up. It wasn't the call itself that caught their attention, it was the name that appeared on the screen. Your special person froze. Their breathing slowed. For a long moment, they didn't move at all. Their friend noticed the hesitation immediately. "You're doing it again," they said quietly. "You're letting fear make your choice." The phone stopped ringing, but the moment refused to disappear. It felt as though life had placed one more opportunity directly in front of them, only to see whether they would finally reach for it or watch it slip away again. Your special person picked up the phone but couldn't bring themselves to unlock it. Instead, they admitted something they had never shared with anyone before. "Every time I think about speaking honestly, I imagine everything falling apart." Their friend looked at them with a mixture of concern and understanding. "And yet," they replied, "everything has been falling apart because you've stayed silent." Those words settled into the room like a truth that could no longer be ignored. For the first time that night, your special person stopped defending their fears. They began questioning them instead. What if the worst outcome wasn't rejection? What if the real loss had been allowing doubt to steal months that could never be recovered? Stay with this story, because the answer to that question changed the direction of the entire conversation. After another long pause, your special person quietly stood and walked toward the window. The night outside was calm, but their thoughts were anything but. They whispered, almost to themselves, "If I keep waiting for the perfect moment, I'll never have one." Their friend smiled faintly, knowing those words were different from everything that had come before. They weren't spoken from fear. They were spoken from awakening. Then the friend reached into a nearby drawer and handed them something they had completely forgotten existed. The moment your special person saw it, every emotion they had been trying to bury rushed back at once. They held it in trembling hands, staring at it as if it carried the answer they had been searching for all along, and what they discovered inside it changed everything they believed about you. For several seconds, your special person couldn't even bring themselves to open it. Their hands trembled as old memories rushed back with surprising clarity. Their friend watched in silence, knowing this wasn't just an ordinary object. It was a forgotten reminder from a chapter they had spent months trying to lock away. Finally, they unfolded it and stared without saying a word. A faint smile appeared for only a moment before it disappeared beneath a wave of emotion. "I remember exactly how I felt that day," they whispered. "I thought I had more time." Their friend immediately understood the weight behind those words. Time had never been the real problem. Believing there would always be another chance had been. Don't look away now, because what they noticed next completely shifted the meaning of everything they had been remembering. Hidden inside was something they had overlooked countless times before. It wasn't dramatic or obvious. In fact, anyone else might have ignored it completely. But to them, it felt impossible to dismiss. It was a small detail connected to you that suddenly made every missed conversation, every unfinished sentence, and every moment of hesitation fit together in a way they never had before. "How did I never see this?" they asked quietly. Their friend replied, "Because you've been looking at your regrets instead of the truth." Those words lingered in the air. Your special person realized they had spent so much energy assuming what you must have been thinking that they had stopped paying attention to what had actually happened. For the first time, they began separating fear from reality, and the difference was far greater than they ever imagined. They slowly folded the keepsake and held it close, no longer with sadness alone but with a quiet sense of determination. "If I'm wrong," they said, "I'll finally know. But if I stay silent, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering." Their friend nodded, relieved to hear conviction replacing hesitation. Yet before another plan could be made, a single message appeared on the phone screen. It wasn't expected. It wasn't from the person either of them had been talking about. But the words in that notification instantly drained the color from your special person's face. They read it twice, then looked toward their friend in complete disbelief, because whoever sent that message seemed to know a secret that neither of them had ever spoken aloud, and that revelation threatened to change everything they were about to do. Your special person stared at the screen, reading the message over and over as if the words might change. They didn't. Their friend quietly asked, "Who sent it?" For a moment, they couldn't answer. Then they turned the phone around. The message was painfully simple: "Stop pretending you're over them. You're running out of excuses." There was no explanation. No context. Just a sentence that somehow reached straight into the secret conversation they had been having only moments before. Neither of them could understand how someone else seemed to know exactly what had been confessed behind closed doors. A chill settled over the room. Coincidence no longer felt like a convincing answer. Stay with this, because the identity of the sender was only the beginning of a much deeper mystery. Their friend studied the message carefully before asking another question. Who would know you're still hiding your feelings? Your special person began naming people one by one, but every possibility fell apart almost immediately. No one had been close enough to hear the truth. No one had witnessed the tears, the hesitation, or the confession they had finally made that night. Then another realization surfaced. What if they didn't discover my secret tonight? They whispered. What if they've known for much longer than I realized? The thought completely changed the atmosphere. They started remembering small conversations that once seemed meaningless, strange comments that had been brushed aside, and subtle moments when people had looked at them as though they understood something they refused to admit. Piece by piece, a hidden pattern began revealing itself, and it pointed toward a truth they had never considered before. Don't skip, because the next clue turns suspicion into certainty. Without another word, your special person opened an old conversation they hadn't looked at in months. As they scrolled through forgotten messages, something unexpected caught their attention. Certain words repeated themselves again and again, almost like quiet hints they had ignored at the time. Their friend leaned closer, reading each line with growing disbelief. "These weren't random," they said softly. "Someone has been trying to push you toward the truth all along." Your special person felt their heartbeat quicken. If that was true, then every delay, every hesitation, and every missed opportunity had been leading toward this exact moment. But just as they reached the oldest message in the conversation, they noticed one final detail that had never been there before. A single line that appeared ordinary to anyone else, yet to them it carried a meaning so unsettling that they instantly realized the story between you was about to take a completely unexpected turn. They read that final line 3 times before speaking. At first, it looked like nothing more than an ordinary sentence buried among dozens of forgotten messages. But the date beside it stopped them cold. It had been written long before anyone could have known how the story between you would unfold. Their friend frowned. "That's impossible," they murmured. "How could someone predict this?" Your special person couldn't answer because the words seemed to describe the very crossroads they were standing at now. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't advice. It was almost as if someone had understood their heart before they did. The more they thought about it, the more one unsettling question refused to leave their mind: had they been overlooking signs that had been quietly guiding them all along? Their friend gently took the phone and looked through the conversation from beginning to end. "Notice something?" they asked. Your special person blinked in confusion. Every time you were about to give up, someone appeared with just enough hope to keep you moving. Every time fear convinced you to disappear, another reminder pulled you back. They had never connected those moments before. They remembered unexpected conversations, familiar places that brought back memories of you, and strange coincidences that always arrived when they were closest to walking away forever. None of those moments had seemed important on their own. Together, they formed a picture that was impossible to ignore. "Maybe this isn't about luck," their friend whispered. "Maybe you've been avoiding the very truth that's been trying to find you. Stay with this, because what your special person admitted next changed the direction of the entire night." Your special person slowly lowered their head and spoke with a calmness their friend had never heard before. "I've been waiting for certainty," they admitted, "when what I really needed was courage." The room fell silent again, but this silence felt different. It wasn't filled with fear anymore. It was filled with decision. They unlocked their phone, opened a blank message, and rested their thumb above the keyboard. For several long seconds, they didn't type a single word. Then a faint smile appeared, followed by a deep breath that seemed to release months of hesitation. Just as the first sentence was about to appear on the screen, another notification interrupted everything. This one contained only 7 words. But those 7 words made your special person stop instantly, because they realized someone else had made a move before they ever had. Your special person's thumb hovered above the screen as they opened the new notification. Their heartbeat quickened before they even read the first word. It wasn't a long message. It didn't explain anything. It simply said, "Don't let another chance disappear because of fear." They stared at it in complete disbelief. Their friend noticed the expression on their face and quietly asked, "Who keeps sending these?" The truth was, they had no idea. There was no name they recognized, no obvious explanation, and no reason this message should have arrived at that exact moment. Yet somehow, it spoke directly to the battle they had been fighting all night. It felt less like a coincidence and more like the final push they had been waiting for without realizing it. Don't skip, because what happened next forced them to make the choice they had been avoiding for far too long. For the first time in months, your special person stopped searching for perfect answers. They set the phone down, looked at their friend, and quietly said, "Maybe I've been asking the wrong question." Their friend nodded with a knowing smile. "You kept asking whether the future would be safe," they replied. "You should have been asking whether your silence was costing you the future you wanted." Those words settled deep inside them. Suddenly, the fear of speaking became smaller than the fear of never speaking at all. Every excuse they had repeated to themselves began losing its power. Every delay started looking like another door quietly closing. The person sitting in that room was no longer the same one who had begun the conversation hours earlier. Something inside them had shifted, and there was no turning back from it. They unlocked the phone one final time and began typing, not with trembling hands but with quiet determination. Every word came more easily than they had imagined because it wasn't rehearsed anymore, it was honest. Their friend watched without saying a single word, sensing that this moment belonged entirely to them. When the message was finally complete, your special person read it once, smiled faintly, and reached toward the send button. Then they suddenly froze. A tiny detail on the screen caught their attention, something so unexpected that it made them stop breathing for a moment. They slowly turned the phone toward their friend, who looked at it and whispered, "This changes everything." In that instant, your special person realized the next decision would reveal a truth neither of them had been prepared to face. Their friend leaned closer, expecting to see a mistake in the message itself. Instead, their eyes widened when they noticed the timestamp beneath an old conversation. It showed that something connected to you had changed only moments before, at almost the exact time this late-night confession began. Neither of them spoke. The timing was too precise to ignore. Your special person slowly whispered, "What if this wasn't just another ordinary night?" 1,000 possibilities rushed through their mind at once. Had they finally reached the moment they had been unknowingly moving toward all along? Or had they waited until the very last possible second? The uncertainty was overwhelming, yet for the first time, it no longer pushed them backward. It pulled them forward. Stay with this, because the next realization would erase the final excuse they had been hiding behind. Their friend gently smiled and asked one final question. "If you wake up tomorrow without sending this, will you be at peace?" The answer came almost instantly. "No, It was the clearest response your special person had given all night. They realized they weren't protecting their heart anymore, they were imprisoning it. Every delay had been built on assumptions. Every fear had been based on stories that had never been tested. The truth was both painful and liberating. They could not control how the future would unfold, but they could control whether they remained silent. That realization changed everything. The weight they had carried for so long began lifting, replaced by a quiet determination that even surprised them. Something huge was waiting on the other side of one simple decision, and they could feel it drawing closer with every passing second. Without another moment of hesitation, your special person looked down at the message they had written, took one steady beat.